So Kirk's reading something.
And after the book has gone to the printer, the author, editor, compiler, or whatever or whoever he may be, carries in a preface his burden of regret to the public who probably expected nothing better, and in dismal remorse tells how his plans have buckled, his roseate visions have turned to leaden hue, his budding hopes chilled and filled with April snows. Not in this book.
What? That's the intro you wanted?
It was a bullshit intro.
That's horrible.
I had to read that.
The fucking title of this monster of a book. History of Davenport and Scott County, Iowa. Holy fuck. What a showstopper.
Hey, I had to read that first sentence. You had to listen to it.
When did you have to read that?
I had to read it when I was reading the book.
But why did you have to read?
Because I wanted to.
Oh, God. Anyway, welcome back to the Two Roommates podcast. This is episode 2, if you could believe it or not. I'm Brent. My pronouns are he, him.
Hi, my name is Kirk. My pronouns are they and them.
Wow. Can't believe it. 2 episodes. That's 2 more than I thought would ever happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Technically. Nice. Technically, this isn't out yet, but it will be. So, a friend texted me this week.
Take 2.
So, a friend texted me this week, and he said his dad was coming up with a game. Kirk already knows about this, so I'm going to explain it for the folks at home. His dad was coming up with a game, and it was this horse race game where there'd be like 10 horses, and you would roll a die, and whatever number came up, that would be, the horse that moves one space. And so whoever, horse gets to the end, that horse wins. And, the odds of any of those horses winning are 1 in 10, all even. But he asked me, what if one of those horses was, 3 spaces ahead? How would its odds change? And supposedly I know things about math, so he asked me, but then I was immediately stumped because I was just going through all the old stuff I learned in college, and none of it was making any sense. So then I just switched to coding. And then I got Kirk involved, and they were pretty jazzed about it.
Yep, I spent way too much time working on a math equation, and I haven't touched math since junior year of high school.
It's been a little bit since junior.
It's been a little bit, yeah. But I'm feeling confident. I have enough of bones that if I sit down and continue to work on it, I may be able to figure out a crude equation.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, because you have to consider how many horses are racing. How many spaces total is there left in the game? And then, with how many spaces total left, how many space advantage? 3 space advantage, and every... they have to go 27 spaces, the rest of the horses have to go 30 spaces. Or what if one horse only has to go 24 spaces, another one 27 spaces, different advantages. So, trying to think about that, my brain broke. So, what I did is, I did, actual computer science. It has been, a year at this point since I've done, actual work. It was very unprofessional. I got a text message. Very unprofessional.
Very unprofessional.
So what I did... Oh, yeah, this is the Brent explains something boring portion of the podcast. Last week was stocks. This time, math. The double whammy. No, so what I did is I coded up a thing where it acted as the race, where, one horse would only have to get, randomly, 10 horses... its number would come up and, advance 1 space. And one of these horses only had to go 27 spaces, and the other had to go 30. And you do that until, one horse wins, and then that horse is a winner, and that piece of data gets sent away. And if you do that, 100,000 times, you should get some sort of approximation of what the actual odds are. And what I figured out is with, if one horse has to go 30 spaces... and the other 9 horses have to go 27 spaces, the odds of that 27-space horse winning is 22%. And the other horses individually are 8.7%. And then we did more, and then we graphed it because we're dorks. And it makes sense. Like, the advantage horse, like, if there's like 1,000 spaces left and it has to go 997, that advantage doesn't mean a lot. But it's never going to dip below 10% because, even if it gets to the point where if you stretch it to infinity.
At the most theoretical, the probability of any one horse winning is 1 over y, where y is the number of horses.
Hell yeah. So it's probably never going to dip below 10%. And then subsequently, I was doing something where, what if it only has to go, 2 spaces, and the other horses have to go 22 spaces, or 1 space of 22 spaces. And it was getting to the point where, in like 10 million trials, that advantage horse was losing only like 4 times. So that way was it was what we were expecting, where it would approach 1, where basically it was a certain probability, a 1 out of 1, that it would win any race. So that's what you expect, with the advantage either being so large or so little. But it's neat when you can actually get results that kind of align up with your thinking. It's like how life, it's how it's actually supposed to work. So I did that, and like I had to like download Python. Python is a software language. And I had to re-download that and learn that again, I haven't touched that since like the middle of my last year of college. But I think I answered it. And yeah, so hopefully my friend, his dad makes a game, because I guess he's making games in quarantine.
If any of our followers 8 years down the line listen to this really old podcast and feel inspired to figure out the equation, please let us know.
I don't know. Like, so I'm imagining if I brought that up to one of my like math professors, they just look at me and go, and they give me like a yikes face. They'd be like, I don't know. But then again, I'm real dumb, so maybe there is an answer. I just don't, because like with a lot of the basic probability equations, you need to know how many trials there are, like a set amount of trials with a probability of winning or failure. But the thing is that it's not that. It's a race with an unknown number of trials. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I really don't know what like the hard answers, like, because there is like somewhere in the universe of math there's an equation. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how you get to that.
Yeah, like, and it doesn't have to tell you conclusively who's going to win. It just has to say,
but how am I going to make rent this month? I need to know what horse is winning.
This horse has a % chance of winning. And I feel like I've isolated enough of the variables. It's just figuring out how the variables interact. Right. Where you have the total number of horses, you have the number of spaces advantage, the number of spaces remaining, and total. And then a whole bunch of other stuff that's written down in my room, and I can't remember anything.
Yeah. And I bet, too, if you were just trying to come up with the equation where, like, one horse has 27 spaces to go, and another one has 24 spaces, I imagine that just throws just a huge fucking wrench in the whole thing, where the equation you have to make becomes that much more complicated, because now you're weighing like this factor and this factor against the rest, and that can just keep getting worse and worse. So that's why I like computers, because my brain broke trying to think of like what it actually would be. So instead I just made a computer do it. And ideally, when the computers take over, I'm one of their favorite slaves, and I get to like live in a palace of comfort as like their lapdog. Mm-hmm. I think ideally that's the end result. Or because I made a machine do that 10 million times for no reason, I'm the most tortured because I did that.
In that reality, when the computers take over, are you going to make a weird comment about the smell of your shoes, about the smell of your feet after you take your boots off from running around all day?
You're bringing it back to Fallout Frontier?
Yes, I am.
Why? Do you have...
This is what we call a segue.
Okay, damn. All right. Please proceed.
Oh, it's not a segue, it's a joke.
That's not a segue! That's just, you brought it up for no fucking reason. That was like one of the best parts.
When did we learn that the mod was set to hidden? Because it feels like that was a little less than a week ago.
Yeah, well, it's because, when you have a pedophile on it... No, that was the thing I read off, was that he got sent to him.
Oh.
Now I need to cut all this, because we already covered it. I'm not cutting it.
Yeah, good. The sanctity of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, that bullshit was all I had. What do you have?
The episode begins with the history of Davenport in Scott County, Iowa.
Fuck, we only have the history of a place in Iowa and math. The only people who like that are in this room right now.
All right.
And no one else.
Then why don't we shoot from the beginning?
No.
We can find a better thing. I can pull open a green text. I don't know.
Good God.
Wait.
No, you can't just read... Nice curse Polish shit. You can't just read off things from the internet and make that into content. Oh, yeah. We can talk about... Yeah. Well, so we were walking... So we went to the...
No. Teachers and unions have destroyed our youth and this country.
They're not going to understand what that means. So we walked to... It was like a few months ago. We walked to like a Mexican restaurant, within walking distance, because, we want to get blasted on margaritas, but then be able to make our way home. And in the middle of the parking lot, we found a CD with like just a sticker on it that says "Teachers and unions have destroyed our youth in this country," which, that owns pretty funny. And it's on a CD, and it's scratched up to shit. Oh, we did scratch that.
No, we did not. We found it like that. So whoever received it proceeded to make it unreadable and then discarded it.
Because that begs the question, like, this either had content related to how teachers and unions are destroying the country, or someone just put that on... Someone had a sticker.
Disc.
Someone had a sticker, and they just put it on a CD.
Well, yeah, that's how you make cheap propaganda, is you buy CDs in bulk. You put some shitty, like, film on it about how this teacher is filling the youth with fucking communist, degenerate thoughts. And then you hand them out, and people go like, I don't want your fucking filthy CD with your conspiracy theories on it.
Well, clearly they do, because it's been in our home for 4 months. So clearly it's a good marketing tool. It captured our imagination.
Well, yeah. I would have preferred to like, if it's a 20-30 minute short film, I would prefer to watch it, because it would no doubt be entertaining.
So Kirk has a green text story in front of them. And once again, you can't just read that off, because that's not content.
Oh, yeah, no, these are way too long.
Yeah. In college, we would do a thing called the propaganda wall. Well, specifically Kirk and one of our friends. And the propaganda wall, as it sounds, they would print off a bunch of propaganda posters, like left shit, and then just tape it all along. So you'd walk into the kitchen, and it'd be 360 degrees of communist bullshit.
I wish it was 360. We barely got a single wall covered.
That I would say a large percentage of our printer budget went to our own propaganda. Now we here at Two Roommates with a Podcast are looking to invest in a printer. And by investing in a printer, it's just so we can print off bullshit and make each other laugh.
Yeah. These are what we call the sacred texts. The most influential things that we've read in our time. We've proceeded to format, and we use Fraktur for which is a stupid German script. We use that to for like the titles and everything. And we have Tales of IT, which is fun. Give that a read. It's nice and short.
That's the one where NASA uses Google Ultron
faster than Chrome.
That's what NASA uses, I've been told.
And then we have The Tale of Old Man Henderson, which is a good story to read if you are interested in tabletop role-playing games and or fucking people over.
Well, I think it's Call of Cthulhu, right?
It's not Call of Cthulhu. Cthulhu, but it is a Lovecraftian role-playing system.
Right, we got that. We have Sir Barrington, the person who made a bear and disguise checked everything. We have to get the himbo diagram, what makes a himbo versus like a jock.
A himbo must be beefy, kind, and stupid.
With only those three powers combined does make a himbo.
Yeah. If he's just beefy and kind, he is
Beefy and kind.
Something. Beefy and kind, he is a hunk. Beefy and stupid,
jock.
He's a jock. And if he's kind and stupid, that's just a decent man.
That's basically what we could aspire to be.
So, I don't know what else to talk about.
Yeah, I only asked you early in the week, hey, if you got any stories or anything.
Yeah, because I famously have the best memory and work ethic.
Kirk, oh my Christ, you guys, Kirk's memory is literal hell. I've known Kirk for, well, when I say no, that's in like scare quotes. I've known Kirk, but like, I mean, I don't know if you want to tell your story about what with your dad.
No, I'm not telling my dad's stories. They were told to me in confidence, and I told them to two of my best friends. Solely because I knew they would like it, and also not go around like walking up to my dad saying, "Hey, I know this thing about you."
No, it sounds
this
like
tragic event that happened when you were younger.
No, it sounds like, oh Jesus, no, that sounds worse.
Well, in a way, we did talk about 3 relatively life-impacting things that have happened. Okay,
but in broad strokes, basically, I've known Kirk for 6 years, and somehow that had never got brought up. Blows me away.
Yeah. Part of that was I have remembered it. I just never talked about it.
Dude, maybe we need Aaron. Maybe we need 3 people.
Maybe we need 3 people.
Yeah, because we need
2 roommates with a friend.
Right, because that's what I was thinking. Is because like 2 people, it's just that conversation. But with 3 people, there's at least different avenues to bounce it.
There's a lot more yelling, though.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I suppose not too much yelling. Too much yelling is annoying.
Yeah,
but a little bit of yelling, So we watched. One of the best Star Trek The Next Generation episodes that we've seen since starting the series the other day.
Oh, it was show me Picard's flute.
Yep. The Inner Light, Season 5, Episode 25.
Well, to prep, so every day at lunch, this is very cute. Me and Kirk watch an episode of TNG together, and then, yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Some days we watch more than one episode. Some days we regretfully are not able to watch an episode. But we try and make it a thing that happens at lunch. And Season 5, Episode 25, the general gist of the plot, and I'm not going to spoil it, because even if you don't necessarily like science fiction, it's a good episode, and you should watch it because it...
Yeah, guy gets gaslit. It's sweet. Everyone loves that. We stand gaslit.
But Jean-Luc Picard is on the bridge of the Enterprise. They encounter an unknown probe, and he is zapped. What happens then? You're affecting the pattern, not the gain.
No, I know, but...
You're loud. I'm always loud.
Yeah, I know. That's why I moved it closer to me.
But what happens with Jean-Luc Picard is he gets zapped by this probe and goes into a coma. And it's very weird because it's like, why is Jean-Luc Picard in a coma? What's happening to him? Like, is he going to be okay? And he finds himself in one of those coma dreams. And he's in like a pre-spacefaring society, and he's trying to get back. And he lives out a long time. And once again, I'm not trying to spoil this. He lives out a long time on the planet. And at the very end, he realizes the purpose, why he was brought to this planet. And it is just very heartfelt and melancholic and touching. And there is a famous flute, which he plays very well. And one of the quotes, and Brent hates me for this because I said that's a good quote.
And I said it's pretentious because Jean-Luc Picard can say it because it's Jean-Luc Picard and he's the captain of a starship. And we're like 5 seasons in. This is episode 2 of a podcast.
Yeah, but I'm saying we've also talked about whatever helps get you through this shitty pandemic. Mm-hmm. And I think that these words that he had are just good advice for life in general. So not to get too, Instagrammy of it. But Jean-Luc Picard says, "Seize the time, Maribor. Live now. Make now always the most precious time. Now will never come again." And I'm going to be honest, as someone who regularly passes a day away without realizing time is passing, who ignores now because I'm not used to thinking about the flow of time as being like a real tangible construct in my life, that is a good quote for me to keep in mind. And that's why I wrote it down in a quote journal.
I think quote journal.
Yeah, it has one quote, but I have another smaller one that I'm going to move stuff over into this.
Yeah, that episode also really shows why we like TNG so much, because the episode it just hits you like a fucking freight train at the end, where you just feel so much shit, like the melancholy, but it's almost beautiful in a way. Some of these deep emotions, especially when it covers, so there's a character, Data, and he's an android, and he's the only android, or one of the only androids with his level of sophistication. So he's a vehicle for exploring humanity. What does humanity mean? And also he's an artificial life, but it could be a stand-in for any sort of a new life form. What rights do they have? What are our interactions with them? How do we treat them versus others? And some of the ways they're able to explore heavy concepts. Now, granted, it's also it was written between 88 and 90 something. So a lot of, especially in season one, but because a lot of 90s bullshit America comes through with some of its messages. Mm-hmm.
Why would anyone ever take a recreational drug? Lieutenant Tasha Yar looks at the camera and repeats Nancy Reagan's anti-drug speech.
Occasionally Nancy Reagan makes a guest appearance on the show. So, but especially for 1990, they don't do that much. And there's 170 episodes, so not getting too preachy. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of and especially in the very beginning, right? You might watch a couple episodes and say, "Oh my god, a Worf episode," or "Oh my god, a Wesley episode."
I don't think you would ever say that.
Well, no, but early on, you watch maybe a bad episode here and there, like a Wesley episode, Wesley Crusher. You watch it and you go, "Oh my god, I hate this character." He's set up to be like a wunderkind.
Well, he was a bit of a Mary Sue.
Yeah, and then but by the time you get to season 5, granted he's not in the show as much, but his moments on screen are much better written. It's a learning and a growing moment whenever he has a chance to interact with Picard, or when he's on his own trying to to make decisions and do the right thing.
Especially season 1 of TNG 2. It's I think it was like Gene Roddenberry. He, created the original series and was trying for a long time to get another iteration of Star Trek off the ground. For a little bit, they wanted to do more movies, but Star Wars came out, unfortunately. So not as they had to drop that. So then they switched back to a TV show, and I was reading that he was trying to get it picked up by the networks, but they kept offering we didn't want this many episodes, or maybe we wanted it about this, and not some of the themes he wanted to explore. So instead, he did it was like first run syndication, which basically is, instead of it being produced and put on a network, it would just be immediately syndicated to either all the small cable channels or local stations and broadcast through that. And I think they said he still managed to cover they managed to cover 90% of televisions in America when it came out. And it was rivaling other primetime shows, which is crazy for a show that didn't have a slot or wasn't on a set channel and shit. But yeah, so the first season, a lot of I think it was a lot of the original series were writers or directors, and then in season 2 it became different people who were fresh onto Star Trek, and it has the feeling between season 1 and season 2 is very different, which is when Wesley becomes instead of just a wunderkind who's good at everything, he becomes an actual human with flaws and doubts and trying to overcome them, becomes a relatable human.
So I don't know if it's true. I don't know that much about media history. That's not my forte. But there's a webcomic called Darson Droids.
Nice.
And it's very niche. It's Star Wars in a universe where Star Wars never existed.
That's the universe I'd want to live
the
in.
entire plot of all of the films isn't a movie or a TV show. It is a D&D session played out by characters. And one of my favorite segments in the commentary that has always stuck with me is their fan theory that in this universe, Star Wars was never a thing, so it didn't bring back that large scale commercialized science fiction, which means that Star Trek was dead in the water, because the original series happened and then it ended, and it went until. And it ended 69 maybe?
Well, no, because actually in real life, one of the things that surprised Roddenberry and some of the other creators was basically its longevity, because 15 years later there were still conventions, the movies did well, basically motherfuckers were rabid for Trek.
Yeah, but also their fan theory is, without Star Wars to kind of sweep through all of the movie theaters nationally and kind of get people interested in science fiction, Gene Roddenberry wouldn't have been possible to. Granted, I've made a comment about
Star Trek
not
came
being
out
a
before
media
Star
historian.
Wars.
Yes, the original series did.
Right.
Not the next generation.
Yeah, but Star Wars.
So
he already wanted to make another show.
Yes.
Another thing.
Yes,
and there
but
was
without a wide fascination with.
So before Star Wars, no one was interested in sci-fi space.
No, people were, but you didn't have a significant success story to point to and say.
Well, sure, Star Trek. That would be a significant success.
Yeah, and.
Any 50s B-movie sci-fi?
Yeah, B-movie.
What are you talking about?
So...
2001: A Space Odyssey? That came out before Star Wars. That was fairly successful.
So you're very opposed to this idea, I can tell. But essentially...
Because you're saying Star Wars helped people like sci-fi.
Well, no, people liked sci-fi. I'm just saying that in this universe...
You're yelling.
Yeah, I am, because I'm just saying that in this universe, the authors' headcanon, anyway, is the original series was still popular with the people it appealed to originally. It was still, like, broadcast on reruns, but in the late 70s, early 80s, there wasn't, like, that big science fiction space movie that rocketed, say, Star Wars into everyone's public consciousness. And without that, Gene Roddenberry just couldn't get enough traction to get anyone to approach an idea for the next generation feasibly.
Wherever you find this, leave a comment below in your side of the argument. You'll determine the winner and losers. Find out more. Click here. This Star Trek fan doesn't want you to know 11 things.
So I kind of prefer Star Wars, at least the films, when it comes. But I do rank The Next Generation as a very close second in terms of, like, science fiction media that I have consumed. And I would say, like, watching The Next Generation, I go, this is a very good show. Like, it's almost perfect in terms of it hits themes, it gets you to think about issues.
Don't do drugs.
It
says all the good things.
But, like, even in the 80s, I think you would be hard-pressed to find a show that's about exploration, about communication, that would have the success that The Next Generation did. So I think, like, that model of show where it's not like comedy, but it's drama that deals with issues. I think, like, just that would turn networks off, and it's that being a science fiction show specifically is what kind of drove it,
And especially something that really separates is, like, or going into Star Trek with, our modern poisoned brain. It's just it sound corny, but basically every problem is solved with violence. Like, you need to kill them, you need to shoot them, you need to destroy the enemy, like, you need to blow up the Death Star. That's how you defeat it. And, like, in my head, every time they came across, like, an alien race or something weird is going on or someone's not cooperating, it's like, you're in this Enterprise, just blow them the fuck up. They're like nothing. But that's Picard and Starfleet's, that's not what they do. Mm-hmm. They're diplomats. They communicate, they reason, they try to form connections. They're, like, basically every episode, or the best episodes at least. Well, that's not even true, because when you explore character, how about this? Some of the best episodes are just when they try to solve a puzzle. The puzzle could be just, like, they're caught in a situation, or they have to talk to somebody and, like, two sides are opposed and they need to mediate and, come to a nice resolution so that way they all can, still be allies in the galaxy. So, like, having to navigate that instead of just blowing them the fuck up, I think that's honestly special.
And who can forget that pivotal scene in which Picard, having faced off against Nega Picard for seasons, finally says, no, there is good in him. I feel it. And then goes to Nega Picard's Death Star, Nega Enterprise, and goes to the bridge where Nega Picard answers to Q, honestly. And Picard manages to turn Nega Picard away from the dark side of the Force, reasoning, to the light.
And ultimately that situation is resolved by chucking a motherfucker down a pit. Violence.
No, because... No, what resolved that situation, what resolved the whole Darth Vader thing, was Luke willing to risk himself for the salvation of his father. And then after that was achieved, his father threw the...
Palpatine into the basement, and then the Death Star blew up.
What? Do you want Palpatine to stand trial? Dude, look at the aftermath of Nazi Germany. We apparently can't be counted on to hang enough Nazis.
Maybe if they made him stand trial, he wouldn't have been in the next trilogy. A sign of a quality franchise when a guy who fell down an infinite pit and blew up being brought back is the only thing you have.
That's the worst part of the EU, by the way.
Is the thing that
and
happened.
They brought the worst part of the EU back for the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, not resorting to violence. Like I can't, cause just shoot them. But they don't. They never shoot them. Well, actually, in season 1, the resolution is they did blow up a guy. But once again, that's season 1. We skirt that aside.
The rest of the show. Blown up a couple guys.
Well, sure, but I'm saying violence is like a tool in your toolbox.
Yeah,
and it is the last resort.
Yeah, in the most part, when a person blows up, it's because of their own folly. Like, they tried to blow up the Enterprise, for example, but the Enterprise, undoes it, and the people trying to blow them up doesn't realize that, but it affects their ship as a result.
Or one of the episodes where they hit an alternate dimension, and they're at war with the Klingons instead of being allies. And that universe is horrible. People die all the time. The Enterprise isn't for exploration and research. It's it's a ship of war, and people are just they're miserable because they're at war, and that just a simple way to show the contrast between that universe and the one they're trying to build or have built, and also was it gay space luxury communism?
Fully automated luxury gay space. Gay.
Space.
Something like that.
Some comrades are sucking each other off in space. Is the gist of it? Is the gist of it?
There is an alternative to that, and so on the one hand, I really do like the idea of fully automated luxury gay space communism. However, on the other hand, the alternative is semi-industrialized, comfortable, still gay because, but it's rural, anarcho-socialism, because it's essentially saying yes, Star Trek has an appeal, exploring the stars and everything, but also so does just living in a small community and being able to wake up whenever you want and maybe go fishing and work in a garden and do art. And
because it's them getting to space and achieving that level of space travel. That is not why basically Earth or the Federation has become the utopia. It is because of how humanity changed with its perception of needs, Picard telling that fucking stockbroker, our concerns are not of gain, it's of personal self-advancement, exploration of the other. But yeah, because you can go to we go to fucking space and we're just gonna keep colonizing or strip mining other planets. That's what that's
our future.
Well, yeah, because that's either Alien, you're going to other ships as fucking space trucker, Avatar. We need to go to this new planet to suck their resources out because we already destroyed Earth. So it didn't matter that they made it to space. Their life is still terrible because it's still capitalism.
Yeah. Well, I believe Avatar actually we were after the incredibly rare unobtainium.
Right. But they mentioned that Earth is a shithole because we strip mined it, and then once there's nothing left.
Why else would people be clamoring to go colonize a planet?
Well, that's right. It's because once you strip mined Earth, that's with imperialism and consumption, there has to be new markets. There always has to be, which means you got to go into space to start imperializing other people, because that's the only thing we have.
And now we'll go to the one place yet untouched by capitalist greed.
Space.
I want to see that movie. I don't.
Yeah, it's called Avatar. They made it. James Cameron had a vision and he executed.
No, the Tim Curry movie.
Space.
Red Alert, isn't it?
Oh, was it where he plays a guy in the Russian outfit? I've seen that.
Yeah, and he has, like, the Soviet thing.
Yeah, well, I've seen that GIF. I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, it's apparently a very campy film, so I think it would be fun to watch.
We just watched a Studio Ghibli movie with Tim Curry in it.
We did. The Cat Returns.
Yeah, it was a fucking cat movie. And when she, I think, yeah, so I forget what the movie is called, but
The Cat Returns.
Is it just The Cat Returns?
Yes.
Good lord. But yeah, so the basic plot is like a girl, it's a teenage girl because it has to be because it's a fucking anime.
But she's voiced by an adult.
Bless up. Good on you. But basically she saves a cat, and that cat happens to be the prince, and then like the cat kingdom wants to reward her. Hijinks ensue. But she goes to the cat kingdom, and I fucking said out loud, she's gonna turn into a cat, isn't she? Fucking not 10 seconds later, she grows fucking ears. It was like, oh, I'm a cat now. Ooh! I have a rule when it comes to anime, and I've already told Kirk this. It's once the tentacles come out, I shut it off. I was watching, what's the one where they jack in VR?
Before we go too far, I just want to say one more thing about The Cat Returns. And that is, if you haven't seen it, it's not the best Studio Ghibli film. That probably goes to, like, Spirited Away or My Neighbor Totoro. But it is very, very cute.
Oh, yeah, it's a fun, watchable movie. It's like 90 minutes.
Yeah, and
you have fun, you're out.
And the Baron is voiced by fucking Robin Hood from Robin Hood Men in Tights. Mm-hmm. The guy with the Welsh name.
Yeah. We're like plebs like us who watched it in English instead of doing the Japanese with English subtitles.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're plebes.
Okay, so the movie with the connection thing.
That's the anime, the TV show. Where they're playing the online game.
Oh, Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online, yep. I don't know how many episodes it was in, but I was watching it, and I was like, okay, this is alright. And a fucking schoolgirl, she got lifted up by a fucking flower monster with tentacles, and I shut it off. That's when I went, no, that's the rule. That's hard and fast. Luckily, I think the people at Studio Ghibli have a rule, no tentacles, which I appreciate. Because if I see one, I'm turning it off. I don't care if they're exploring space and they see a squid. I'm turning it off.
Well, lucky for you, I had Sword Art Online recommended to me, and I said no. And they're like, no, it's a good show. The first season's good. And I'm like, you don't understand. No.
And I gave it a try, and that I gave it
You gave it the old college try.
Yep, and then I gave up.
Have you watched Attack on Titan, the anime based off fascist propaganda?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I think I watched the first 2 seasons. It was pretty good. I guess outsiders attacking them, and the only way to defeat them was by killing them and also becoming them.
And the manga has so much more.
Yeah, man, wonder where that fascism in Japan is coming from or percolating.
Yeah.
That's weird how that happened. Anyway, I had nothing to explain that.
I got a message from Emmy.
Gross.
Earlier today, she sent me a picture of like these morning sickness relief
she sent
candies.
That to me too.
And I looked at it, I'm like, that's a weird product. And deep in the back of my mind, I'm like, do I ask?
Well, deep in the back of your mind, I looked at it and went, well, that's a funny joke because they were like sour candies that apparently are supposed to help morning after sickness. Mm-hmm. So after I went, that's funny, I went, she get knocked up?
Yeah. We were on the same wavelength. I didn't ask her either.
I assume that. That would be a weird way to tell one of your friends, yo! Yeah. What up? Starship Troopers. Speaking of fascism. Great film.
Paul Verhoeven. Great director.
That son of a bitch.
RoboCop. Also pretty good at pointing out that, like, corporations shouldn't run public utilities.
Corporations shouldn't exist, but that's an extrapolation.
Also, police culture is usually very bad.
Yeah. No, I love it My favorite thing in the world is when people look at RoboCop and go, "It's so cool, Why don't we have robot cops?"
Well, it's the epitome of the Fallout meme, in which it's a guy looking at a set of power armor, going, "Oh wow, cool armor," and then the nuke fired overhead is like stark commentary about capitalist greed and fucking nuclear warmongering.
Right. It's just, I love it when you make a piece of satire that just punches you in the fucking face, and you just bob and weave. They just bob and weave from it.
Like the people that like Starship Troopers unironically.
It's sweet. It's basically, it's a post-gender society. Everyone's getting nude together. They're just fucking. Yeah. It's pretty sweet. Why don't we just live there?
And we get to kill a lot of unnamed foreign
gross, different
things who probably eat humans.
Guys, it's afraid. Yeah! It's afraid. Paul Verhoeven. Let me ask you what he does. I think I read that he grew up in occupied. It was some occupied European country.
Well, with
from
a name
Nazis.
like Verhoeven, I would
yes.
assume the
motherfucker. Yeah. So he was in a Nazi occupied country, and there were V2 rockets being built near his house, and surprisingly, he doesn't like fascism.
Huh. Yeah. I wonder if it has something to do with all the Belgian and Wallonian and Flemish people just fucking murdered by the Nazis, and Jewish too. There were a lot of Jews in the Netherlands and Belgium that were rounded up.
How would you make? This is something to think about. How would you make a satire movie today? I don't even know what that would fucking look like, because you would satire in 2007 or something. It could just be Stephen Colbert, where you're just doing a heightened Republican, you're doing a Fox News something. But now the bog standard right wing is OAN. It is Christian theocracy. What word am I trying to? Theocracy?
Theocracy is a rule of
or Christian theocracy. That is the bar. That's the bar. That's a standard. So how would you satirize that? Not do it in a way that hits you over the head, because you could just say, "Oh, you round people up into Christian re-education camps," but that's lame. That's not doing anything. So you'd have to come up with a satire, and then also because Starship Troopers, it's like if a fascist society made a film and sent it to us, because it's not.
This is how we killed the bugs.
Right. It's not it is satire, but it doesn't hit you over the head, because it feels like it's just that universe. That's just the universe they live in, and they're just living in.
Yeah, and it's like RoboCop too.
Right. Detroit is just like that, and this is what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And
look at how effective this RoboCop is. Completely forget about the fact that the police are so incapable of doing anything because they have been privatized. Forget about the fact that the film opens with them going, 30 cops have been killed because the corporation dropped the ball. Forget about the fact that another police officer is killed, and fucking then his body is commandeered by a company to become this tool of death.
Pretty cool. You get commandeered after you're dead. Well, you're dead. What's it matter? Oh yeah. So with the cop, obviously they had to incorporate it where the robot cop couldn't hurt the corporation it was working for, and I like that they don't even change that or address it. They just fire the guy, and then you can kill him.
I think RoboCop 2 is the film that I was remembering, and I think that has a plot where, there is a revolution against the company, and RoboCop has to, go against his programming and joins the revolutionaries.
I guess that would be in the later RoboCops, because in the first one it's just... I think that's part of the satire, is you don't even address it. It's just implied. Obviously, the corporation isn't going to let itself get arrested.
Yeah,
and it doesn't address that. It doesn't change that. That is just baked in with the private companies obviously above the law. And that's just built in.
Let's take a
creating
look
satire.
here. RoboCop 2, directed by Irvin Kershner and written by Frank Miller and Wallen Green. I wonder why Paul Verhoeven didn't direct the sequel.
Irvin Kershner. What else did he do? That name.
Yeah, I think that's right.
What did Irvin Kershner do? Oh, that's right. He did Empire. That's what. Boy, Empire Strikes Back and RoboCop 2, different levels of sequels, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's RoboCop 2. The police are all on strike.
42% on Metacritic.
The company's gonna take over the entire city, and the police officers are the good guys saying, no, we won't let them take over the city. And then RoboCop, joins them. Yeah.
Did he just make one good movie?
Who?
Irvin Kershner. He
don't...
directed Empire Strikes Back. And that's the only good thing he did.
I don't think that's the same guy.
It is.
Oh. Well.
Oh, and did he direct... Wait, never seen... Is this James Bond? Oh, and he directed the James Bond where Sean Connery comes back one last time because they couldn't figure out who James Bond should be.
Yeah, Never Say Never Again.
Yeah.
Huh.
Boy.
Yeah, it's,
Boy,
yeah, because The Empire Strikes Back, and this will be a controversial take, I believe is the best Star Wars movie.
Is that controversial?
It depends. There's so most people actually end up agreeing with me, where the ranking of fan favorites goes 5, then 3, and then 4 and 6. But you do have Star Wars fans because I believe you've said Star Wars is awful and should die. Yeah. You do have Star Wars fans who are adamant that The Empire Strikes Back is not as good because The Empire Strikes Back wouldn't have gotten anywhere without A New Hope. So that's why they rank A New Hope above.
I guess Terminator isn't as good as Terminator 2? Or strike that, reverse it. Terminator 2 is as good as...
But the thing is, A New Hope is a very good film. Don't get me wrong, and I'm happy that it was made.
It's just not as good as Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back hits so many more thematic elements, and I inherently like
the pacing, the cinematography. It's a better film, nuts and bolts.
Yeah, and it was that bleak 2nd out of 3 movie vibe. Before every modern movie trilogy started hitting you over the head with, hey, yeah, the first movie was bad and the second movie was also kind of bad, but the second movie ended badly, so you need to come watch how everything turns out in 3.
I don't know if I did. What? Two Towers sounds good. And that would be a sequel that's better than the original. Hot take. That's probably not a hot take.
Yeah.
It probably goes 2, 1, 3 in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, I think...
I would also accept 1, 2, 3.
Because 1 starts off slow. 3 is a bit of a slog because you have to wrap up so much stuff. But 2 is a nice, campy adventure. Yeah.
And plus you get Helm's Deep, which is basically... It's how do you make a conclusion for a middle movie in a trilogy? Where you make a huge-ass battle for 40 minutes that ends, conclusively and with fanfare.
You know what I kind of miss, Brent? We mentioned it earlier with the Mexican restaurant close by.
Going to restaurants?
They had really good margaritas, and all I want is to just...
That first restaurant we went to, I think, had the one where we got in a pitcher. I thought those had the best ones.
Oh, yeah, those were very good. The flavor wasn't as good as the other place.
But it was in a pitcher.
But you got a pitcher, and you didn't get an 8 ounce cup that was $8.
Yes.
You got a pitcher for $22.
Yeah, it was sweet. You got, like, there was, like, 5 or 6 drinks in there.
Yeah.
It was value.
Because it's like, what, a 32-ounce pitcher?
Oh, yeah.
So
it got us blasted.
Yeah, it's like twice the value of 3.
Yeah.
So it's essentially 6 of the margaritas worth in terms of fluid, But
when you're doing ounces,
it is like half the price.
Ounces to cents, it was off those charts. And then we went out walking, and you read off the Wikipedia for baseball records, and I answered most of them.
I did. Yep.
Very proud of that.
That should be an episode. Once we get to like episode 50, we celebrate by just I'm reading off reading off a category, and you name.
You can play along at home by reading the Wikipedia article.
You can play along at home. I'll read the thing. You pause the audio,
and you
write down your answers, and then you listen to it, and you go, "What the fuck?"
And you go, "Who does have the most total bases in MLB history?" Rest in peace, Hank Aaron. We love you. Oh, Hammer and Hank. They were on, that's my favorite thing about baseball. Everyone was on drugs all the time. They only stopped being on drugs in the last 10 years. They either, so Babe Ruth was drunk, or then you were on speed, or you're on steroids to become like fucking horsemen. Have you ever seen like Barry Bonds' neck or Mark McGwire's forearms? Mark McGwire's forearms in 1999 was bigger than your thighs. His fucking baseball bat was a toothpick that he would just wave around and hit 60 long balls. Hit some big dongers. That's the irony. The more dongers you hit, the smaller your dong was.
It's a tragedy that dongers and doinks aren't in the same sport.
True. No, they are in very different sports. Dongs are fun. Doinks are sad.
But Doink is such a fun name.
Yeah.
Doink. Double doink.
He double doinked it! The game can't end like that on a double doink.
Look at those peaks.
Oh, god damn it. That double doink. Hey, now you know where the podcast is at. Fucking Bears. Jesus Christ. Oh,
58 minutes.
Okay, so the sports section. So we're moving on from Trubisky. That's good. We need to move on from him. But then, who do we get? Well, you could get Watson because he's a fucking generational quarterback, but you'd have to give up 3 first-round picks, so then your team is just going to be fucking garbage. We could draft Mac Jones, who just looks like a guy.
A guy.
Yeah, he looks like a guy. That's what you always want your quarterback to look like. But then again, Tom Brady also just looks like a guy. If you want to fucking laugh, look up Tom Brady in the There's a picture of Tom Brady in the NFL Combine when he's getting drafted, and he's in like white, it looks like white boxers or white underwear without a shirt on. He's just a frumpy little white guy, and it's like, and that's one of the greatest athletes to ever live.
Whenever, this is a little bit of a tangent, but you said a guy.
Yeah.
And whenever I hear someone say a guy, the default thing that pops into my head is the Happy Souls animation, like the Dark Souls 2 parody. And there's just one throwaway scene in which they like show up in a place, and there's some farmers, and they're like, hey, and then they're like, what's going on here? And then one of them points and he's like, hey, a guy! And then another guy comes up to attack them. It's just like a throwaway joke, but just the a guy, and then it's
sure I can appreciate
burned into my brain.
I'm sure I also have a lot of weird connections that I obviously can't think of right now. It's just whenever you say that word, it'll pop in my head, and then I have to repeat it all.
Yeah, because it's like, and it's funny too because it's like a gruff French accent. Like a gruff French peasant. It's.
Where are you from? I'm a Frenchman. Oh.
Oh.
TNG joke. Well, you could play poker. Poker? Fucking. Data walking into 19th century San Francisco and wiping the floor with everyone.
Yeah. If that isn't great. American, I fail to catch your meaning. I mean, you walk in here wearing nothing but your pajamas.
Being a weird Frenchman.
Don't have a penny to your name, and then suddenly you go about like like making over $1,000 in a poker game.
Now you're an inventor. You're going to invent the horseless carriage by Data, the Data Motor Company. Oh my god, he's going to be anti-Semitic. Oh no.
Oh no.
He's going to get the highest civilian honor from
Data
Hitler.
inherently seems like the kind of person who would be like, money doesn't really mean anything to me, and you are, doing me a solid by manufacturing this stuff. So here's a very good standard of living. But imagining
he's
Data
still an
as
owner.
Henry Ford.
That's what I'm saying. He's gonna hate the Jewish people. It's required when you're an auto manufacturer. That goes in the contract when you build it. Yeah, maybe we should look into getting a third person.
Yeah, I did bring this up the very first time. I joked, hey Brent, for our first episode we should have Aaron over and just throw the two roommates or two friends with the pod completely out the window.
No, it's called Two Roommates with a Podcast and a Friend. And
okay.
He'll be the friend.
We're still going to call it Two Roommates.
Oh, it's Two Roommates with a Podcast, and he'll just be the friend.
Yeah.
He'll get the uncredited friend.
Yeah. It's not in the title. It's a non-titular friend.
Titty.
We do love Aaron. Gotta love Aaron.
Gotta love him. You don't know him.
You don't know him yet. But he's a really cool dude. And he can talk your ear off about the Chicago Housing Authority.
That's another one of our sacred texts. Is his master thesis on the Robert Taylor homes in Chicago. Some fucked up shit. Surprisingly, neoliberalism sucks ass. Who would have thought?
Boo. Neoliberalism. Boo.
I could have fucking wrote that in one sentence, and that bitch wrote 50 pages. But I knew neoliberalism sucked before it.
Oh, man. Let's see, about how long do we want to go today?
Oh, it is pretty much fucking done. Except actually, I'm going to cut more this time. This
good.
one wasn't good.
Yeah, I think the very beginning we should probably trim out the fat. I thought that would be better. It wasn't that great.
Oh, God.
No, because it's just it was the most fucking pretentious fucking sentence I've read in a very long time.
You can't...
And keep in mind, I'm a historian. All I read is pretentious sentences.
Why would you open it with a pretentious sentence, though? That's not going to translate, because then it just sounds like we're saying something pretentious.
Because I was like, if I had to read this pretentious sentence...
Can we say pretentious a couple more times?
Yes, pretentious. I'm like, if I have to read it, I just want you guys to know how I felt reading it. It was some bullshit.
Which I'm glad we can explain that an hour afterwards.
Yeah, an hour after it was already cut. You'll be confused. But that's why you subscribe to the Patreon, where full, unedited podcasts are uploaded.
That's not true.
For
I'm not doing that.
$10 a month.
None of that is accurate. Kurt doesn't know
No, it's not accurate.
None of that's true. Yeah, so the links that I figured... Oh, yeah, Kirk, I made a Twitter. I don't have, a Twitter. I didn't realize you could change the username. So now instead of it being, A_roommates, because that's horrible... Thank you, Kirk, for letting me know. No, I changed it to Two Roommates Pod. So follow us on Two Roommates Pod.
Yeah, originally mine was my initials. And then when I realized I could change my handle, it is called your at. I changed it to some_leftist.
Which, yeah, plug yours.
Which I don't tweet often. I mostly retweet and or like things. But it's fairly cool. I got retweeted by some account. No, I got liked by some account that is a devout Biden-Harris supporter. But all they are just whenever a girl...
Why did we wait till now?
Fuck. Okay. So cut this, paste it in the beginning. Cut this, paste it in the beginning.
Okay, so Kurt got
Yes.
So
the other day, I wore a sleeveless turtleneck, and it looked even more cool when I went to the store because I had a leather jacket on, too. but a sleeveless turtleneck. And I took a picture and I uploaded it to my Twitter account. And I got liked by this account. And it was like fucking at Biden Harris Blue Wave or whomever. So I checked out his account, and he's your fairly like bog standard liberal who's only into politics because the people make him feel good. But if you take a look at his likes, it is a non-stop cavalcade of he specifically searches mentions of turtleneck, and when he finds a mention of turtleneck, he likes it because I guess his fetish is hot girls in turtlenecks.
Right, because there's apparently no forum, there isn't a subreddit for it somehow for turtlenecks. So instead, he's got to search through.
Yeah, his
Twitter.
Fucking bio says like Blue Wave,
which that's
turtleneck enthusiast.
Kurt, that's so good when as soon like you post a picture presenting feminine, boom,
yeah,
that guy is instantaneous.
Well, the other thing is when I had the spam person, and I think his goal was to try and get money from me. He's like, yeah, I'm a doctor serving with Doctors Without Borders, and I need money.
Yeah, and Kurt,
and he kept referring to me as Miss and Ma'am, and I'm like, that feels good.
Our fucking rent problems could have been solved if you just took one for the team.
No, because I would have been giving him money.
What?
Yeah.
You could have gotten rent.
That's what he was building up to. He wanted to build a report.
No, he's got to get...
I specifically looked it up. When someone says, yeah, I'm a doctor with, like, Doctors Without Borders, and I do a lot of work in Africa, turns out they're just gonna lead you on until they can ask for money.
Kirk, you need to get some simps, and you need to get those simps to listen to the podcast, subscribe to the Patreon, the link will be in the description below, and also give you money to cover rent.
Yes, rent, or if you want me to wear more sleeveless turtlenecks, with feet in the
Oh, God. Feet pics, links in the description below.
No feet pics, turtleneck pics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro, hit us up. We got some pics for you.
Turtlenecks are good. Turtlenecks are nice.
Well, hence that guy liking it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the roommate part in the podcast isn't made up. We have to pay rent, get some simps.
Brent, it would be nice if I could pay my half of the rent without having to worry about working at a call center.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I need rent.
Yeah. I'll get it for you.
I'll post some feet pics.
Yeah,
I'll do
dear.
it. Dear, it's time for your 3 p.m. simpening.
Honey, it's time for your 3 p.m. ball flattening.
Yes, dear. All right. This was episode 2, I guess. Follow us on Twitter.
Don't forget to cut the bit at the beginning and then copy and paste.
That's way too much.
Or cut and paste the turtleneck thing into the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the hook.
Okay. No, that bit was good, but I'm not. It's just gonna stay at the end. It's too much editing.
We're a lot like modern Star Trek writers now, where we're like, hey, the beginning wasn't great, but the end, is it gonna keep you coming back for more? It better.
Follow us on Twitter at two roommates pod. We have Patreon below. We'll probably see you next week. Probably, maybe
we will.
Will we?
We will.
Okay. Well, this week I set up the shit, but next week I think Kirk is gonna have to drag my ass to the table.
Yeah, I'll set a reminder on my phone.
All right, good. All right, bye everyone.
All right, good night.